live on your tablet, phone, and the KUTV app. This is 2 News Live.
Thanks for joining us on 2 News Live. I'm Brian Schnee. It's Thursday, March 14th. We're going in depth tonight on a few topics. We're looking at our next storm moving into the state of Utah and the potential for heavy snow at higher elevations, even some flooding concerns. Also, a rescue operation in Washington County. A man found in a slot canyon after spending nearly 20 hours there after he crashed his dirt bike. Before we dive in, we're following some breaking news tonight. Let's get right to Spanish Fork. Police there are searching for a person of interest in connection to a double homicide. Police say they found 2 people dead inside of a home around the area of 2250 East, 14 South in Spanish Fork. We do have a photo from the scene sent to us by Jeff Winters. I just got this photo from him a few minutes ago. Police are now working to find a person of interest. They're waiting for a search warrant. The Nebo School District posted that due to this incident, some students there may need to be rerouted. We have a crew on the way to the scene, and we'll send out another 2 News push alert like this one that we sent you a little bit earlier. As soon as we learn more information, also, we're hoping for a live report coming up on 2 News at 6. In the meantime, let's take a look at some other headlines from the day. A couple of these stories you can find on our website right now. Some boulders tumbled down some steep canyon walls late last night. They landed on a Weber County road known as the North Ogden Divide. That road was closed for a few hours. SR 31 in Emery County is still closed due to some avalanche debris that slid over the weekend. Here's a drone shot that actually shows a little bit of that road completely covered. There is concern for changing weather conditions there. Ogden police are asking for your help in locating 15-year-old Jessica Boney, last seen in Plain City. That was on March 3rd. If you have any information on her whereabouts, contact police. Finally, in our headlines, Utes fans might like this one. It's not football season yet, but it always seems to be right around the corner. The Utes releasing their schedule today, announcing they will host the Florida Gators at Rice-Eccles Stadium. That's on Thursday, August 31st. So as we go in depth tonight, you can always get in touch with us throughout the show. Use the hashtag 2NewsLive to join the conversation. You can always find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can send me a direct message as well to weigh in. Here's a live look from the Nevada area, I-80. Nothing you're seeing there, at least at a close glimpse. Roads look wet. We were seeing some precip on I-80 earlier. It's always interesting to see what is headed our way. Maybe not the best indication here because we're seeing some of the Cottonwood Canyons at higher elevations already getting some snow. Sterling Polson with us tonight. Sterling,
snow levels are about 8,000 feet.
Okay, so we got to get up high.
There. Yeah, okay. They're going to stay up there. They will start to come down tomorrow. We do have a cold front coming in. That's going to bring the snow levels back down, but it's not by then. The storm is going to be moving. Now, there's 2 good things about this whole situation. Yes, we have that atmospheric river, but the systems that are accompanying it, like the cold front coming through Utah, it's a fast mover. We've got the shower activity that we've got right now over us is going to move out by midnight tonight. So we get about a 6-hour break before we have more rain moving in.
So downtown Salt Lake City, valley locations, that lower elevation really shouldn't be seeing any snow at all.
No snow. Behind that cold front tomorrow, between about 6 a.m. and about 8 a.m. or 9 a.m., we could see some snow showers, but it'll be very brief and they'll be out of here. So really, this isn't a bad storm. It isn't going to bring tons of rain or snow, but it is going to bring melting snow in some of the higher elevations, and we do have some gusty winds in the mountains, which is why the winter storm warning is in effect above 8,000 feet. So let's get to the forecast and we'll show you exactly what we've got going on. It does look like an interesting pattern. We've had some gusty winds out ahead of this whole system, and you can see, in fact, we just had a wind in Tooele up to 45 miles an hour at Blue Peak High School, 44 miles an hour at Guadalupe School in Salt Lake City. That's on the north end in the Rose Park area. 41 miles an hour at the University of Utah, Clearfield Hill Air Force Base, 41 miles an hour, Ogden 37 miles an hour. And you can see the temperatures are fairly mild. We've been as high as 61 degrees in Salt Lake City today. But cooler air is coming in from the northwest. That's going to be moving into northern Utah tomorrow morning. We've got this moisture coming into southwestern Utah tonight, but we've got those scattered showers. And we were just looking out the Elko area. You can see that the precipitation is kind of ending. And as it moves across northern Utah by about midnight tonight, it will be ending here in northern Utah. None of this rain is heavy in nature. And the same thing applies in southwestern Utah. We've got this light rain shower activity, occasionally a little bit heavier, but it's going to be moving off to the north, and east. And you can see that snow falling at the very highest elevations of the mountains. So that means rain is falling on some of the snowpack in this mid and upper level snowpack areas of our mountains across the state of Utah. So lows tonight, not terribly cold, but of course Vernal's down to 31, Park City 32, Evanston 32. We'll see 32 in Ely. Temperatures tomorrow will be up in the 40s, but not as warm as today. Like I said, we hit 61 today, 49 in Blanding tomorrow. Scattered showers and thunderstorms across southeastern Utah. Let's put it all into motion. So here go those showers across out of northern Utah tonight, out of southern Utah tonight. Here comes the cold front. This is 8 o'clock, 6 o'clock tomorrow morning here in Salt Lake City. We've got the moderate to heavy rain briefly for about a half an hour, 45 minutes to an hour, and then it moves off to the south and east. This is by noon. We're seeing clearing skies across the north, but increasing showers across southern Utah as this cold front continues to move into the southern part of the state, bringing some moderate to heavy showers at times in some of the southern mountains and southern valleys of Utah. So that's what we're looking at. And as we move into Thursday, everything clears out and things are looking good. So that's great news. So here's the forecast for the next 7 days. We're looking at those temperatures in the 50s, 60s. Weekend doesn't look too bad in St. George, but it does look like we will see temperatures or a little bit of rain shower activity possible Sunday evening. And for Salt Lake City, well, we've got those highs in the 40s all the way through Saturday, and then we finally move into the 50s on Sunday. But the rain showers go away. Look, Thursday and Friday, we've got sunshine.
So we're going to talk about flooding here. Ariel Harrison working on that in just a moment. And we're going to get to the folks at Alta that are talking about a lot of snow. I heard you mention this is falling on snowpack. A lot of rain could fall on certain areas that have gotten snow. How does that make this situation,
well,
I guess,
snow is like
dicey?
a sponge. It soaks it in. But because we've had kind of some wind, that helps to get that water down through the snow into the lower areas of the snow and down into the soil. But the ground is still frozen. So that's where you have problems with some of the flooding, especially this time of the year. But it's a little bit early to see major flooding here along the Wasatch Front. And that's especially in the lower valleys and even in the mountains because the ground is still frozen and most of the snowpack is still frozen.
Something to keep an eye on, obviously, as we continue to warm up.
Absolutely.
At this point.
Be vigilant and make sure you don't have anything clogging up your drains and things around your house.
All right. Thank you, Sterling.
Yeah.
Prior to the storm, Alta ski area reporting more than 600 inches of snow. There's a very good chance that they're going to get more snow. We were looking overnight at one of the cameras right now. And we talk frequently about the closure of Little Cottonwood Canyon for avalanches. But I wanted to know how the folks in the town of Alta itself are handling the snow this year. Mike Morey has been working for the town for 30 plus years. Take a listen.
Things can change rapidly in the canyons, and we are expecting what looks to be a pretty significant winter storm later this afternoon into this evening. We're keeping a close eye on the snow load. As a matter of fact, we sent out a safety message via our social media this morning, just reminding everybody to be mindful about the amount of snow on the roofs, the places that it might slide and injure somebody, or perhaps damage a structure. Also, a big part of tending to your snow and your buildings up here is keeping a good eye on your furnace vents. We have had a couple of instances where carbon monoxide alarms have gone off, and we've responded in and found that the exhaust vents have been blocked by snow.
Is there a concern for you to look towards what flooding could look like or a warm up with this much snow? Is that something you've endured in your career, and what does this year look like?
Yeah, so we are watching the temps. Sudden rise in temperatures can give us an entirely different avalanche scenario, and change the snowpack. Also, the runoff, us being the headwater, maybe we don't get some of the severe impacts that downstream communities do, but we have had flooding events up here that have caused property damage in the past.
We know mountain communities already dealing with some flood issues, or at least concerns. They've been talking about it. But what about the valleys? Hydrologists and groundwater experts don't think we'll see significant flooding with this storm, which is also what Sterling just mentioned. But they say that things could really change in the coming weeks and the coming months. Let's get to Ariel Harrison joining us live now. Ariel, looks like you're outside avoiding the raindrops for the time being. You were looking into flooding in the valley locations. What did you find out today?
Yeah, that's right. Well, back in the 80s, it was State Street that was the river flow on this street. That was, during a very active winter like we've had. Hydrologists and groundwater flow experts I spoke with today said they don't anticipate that with this storm, but it's definitely something they are keeping an eye on. They say in the coming weeks there will be a few different variables along with timing, the weather we continue to get, that will determine if we have flooding like that in the valleys.
Ariel, if it isn't State Street, are there certain areas that people were concerned with for this storm, or does it seem like we're just going to miss any potential for flooding this time around?
So the areas of concern are going to be the lowest pockets of the valleys, the lowest elevations next to bodies of water. Earlier today we were over at the Jordan River, where we've seen flooding of that river in the past. I spoke with a woman who said before that river actually flooded and came into her backyard, ruined her home, her shed. She moved and never went back, needless to say. She said for that very reason it was just such chaos. But those bodies of water, even just like the Jordan River, properties near there, or different lakes, Utah Lake, and even creeks that they said typically, even if you live by a creek that normally is low flowing, those are going to be some of the key spots to keep an eye on, because they could really fill up if our mountain, our snow melt comes down all at once. And that's again a few variables. If it heats up super fast and we really continue to get the water and snow we've been seeing in this last month or two, Brian.
All right, Ariel, thank you so much. We're going to continue looking into this, again, with Chief Meteorologist Sterling Polson. You could see, obviously, Ariel's perspective out there, right?
Yes.
That was 1983, where State Street looked like a river, very different. Obviously, there's the potential for flooding concern down the line here. We saw what happened in certain communities, though, summer months. Moab, Enoch, those come to mind for me.
That's more flash flooding type events. Well, and the things that usually happen in the spring in Utah would be Cache Valley, because the ground thaws, it takes longer for the ground to thaw. So often they get flooding in Cache Valley on the Bear River. And also as that moves into the northern part of Utah, down around Tremont and Garland, they'll see the groundwater is already very high there. So any additional water could cause some flooding in some of those areas too. But that's going to be a little bit later in the spring when we start to see that snow melt really get going. Other than that, most of the areas in the Salt Lake Valley back in the 80s needed improvement. And so they did a huge reconstruction of all the underground pipes and drainages. They put the river under North Temple. The City Creek, it goes under North Temple.
Amazing
now,
to think
all
about
the way
that
down
now.
there.
Yeah.
So that problem is gone. So there's a lot of things that they've improved. Our infrastructure is better, and I think that there's more controls in place to prevent major flooding in the Salt Lake area. But some of those farmland areas across northern Utah and Cache Valley certainly could see some high water and possible flooding.
Sterling, thank you. As we continue to track the potential for flooding, download our 2 News weather app to know about changes in your neighborhood. You can get updated forecasts, live radar right on your phone. The app is free to download. We will talk about some slot canyons shortly.
If you're ready to copy some coordinates, we did find the bike, and we do see Roman taking second road. Hold you down. In 3, 2, 1. Power check. Power's good. Okay. Just come straight up and back a little bit. Perfect.
Always a remarkable perspective. We're learning incredible new details about how a Utah police officer survived overnight after a dirt bike crash. Brad Coleman crashed into a small canyon in southern Utah, wasn't found for up to 20 hours. Lincoln Graves joining us live tonight to talk about this story. Lincoln, we just watched a snippet from nearly what is about an 8-minute video from that helicopter that we obtained today. They located Brad, they hoisted him out, which is just remarkable. What do you make of the video?
At your desk right as I sat down to watch it as well. It's pretty incredible to watch. I should note that the person credited for discovering where Brad was is actually a friend of his. That friend had a drone up in the sky, and they say that friend located the bike. But they then called rescuers. That kind of gave them the location to go search, and they quickly spotted that bike. And as you're watching that video, you see them zero in on the bike, and then they announce over the video that we see Brad down there, and he is moving, so he is alive. That was also another pretty incredible moment because a lot of people were worried. The search for him, it started in the darkness in the previous night. It ended around 3 a.m. And then search crews, they went back out around 7 a.m. on Monday morning, that's yesterday morning, and they were able to locate him there. So it is an incredible video as you watch them discover him. They lower someone down, and then they're able to hoist him up on a stretcher and bring him closer to an air ambulance. Definitely something incredible to watch. Brian.
Lincoln, you also spoke with the Washington City Police Chief today. What did he have to say about this ordeal that his fellow officer went through?
Yeah, they're all obviously keeping him in their thoughts. He described Brad. This is Chief Jason Williams describing Brad as an upbeat individual, someone who's always very positive. He's lending support to the family as well, giving as much support as possible in this moment. He also says that Brad makes the best of any situation, and he really says this probably became a factor in his survival. Again, he was gone for nearly 20 hours, up to 20 hours. And so the fact that he was able to make it through that, his boss, the chief down there, says, you know, he credits Brad's attitude for getting him through the ordeal, saying it definitely played a big role.
All right, Lincoln, thank you so much. The rescue operation involving a hoist from the Department of Public Safety is something DPS prepares for quite often. Just last week, I spent a day with DPS in one of their helicopters as they trained for a scenario just like this one in southern Utah. Here's a look back at the training day.
So today we're doing some 50-foot slot canyon extension training. We train hoist training every month, and then we alternate between day and nights. We're practicing deep slot canyons with a 50-foot extension to add on to our total cable length.
How does the public benefit from what you're doing today?
So obviously all these skills come together when we go to a rescue. And so we take all the things we learned from training, everything we learned from other rescues, and put it together to make each rescue, which is different, successful.
Sergeant Weber is a tactical flight officer who's been doing this for a long time. Right now, within the DPS Aero Bureau, there are 3 helicopters in the state, 2 out of Salt Lake, 1 in St. George, which has only been there since the summer. Be sure to keep an eye out for our Eye on Utah piece coming in the coming weeks when we join DPS for this recent training day. We'll take a closer look from the ground and, of course, from the sky. These members from the DPS Aero Bureau worked tirelessly over the past few days, making multiple trips to Kane County to hoist hikers who were stuck in slot canyons. Floodwaters in Buckskin Gulch and other slots in the area trapping hikers. Originally, the Kane County Sheriff's Office had been looking for just 3 people, and helicopters from St. George and Salt Lake City ended up hoisting several more. Now, as far as we believe tonight, they're still looking for 2 people that are still missing in that area. For updates on this, keep it locked to KUTV.com, as well as our mobile app and our newscasts, always on TV. New data is confirming the pandemic hurt the education of our children. However, at least one metric, Utah students weathered the storm better than many other states. Now, tonight at 10, right here on 2 News, Crisis in the Classroom reporter Chris Jones shows you the nation's report card. He's here with us in studio tonight on 2 News Live with a preview. What are we looking at tonight?
So the nation's report card, it's kind of a snapshot into how 4th graders and 8th graders are doing on reading and math. And they've been giving it since 1990. So this has been around for a while. It's a great way to gauge exactly how our kids are doing in school. And then, of course, the pandemic hits, right? And we all knew that there were going to be issues. We all knew that kids were going to be behind in terms of math and science, and that's exactly what happened. If you look at the data on a broader scale across the country, you see drops in math and reading across the board from state to state. Doesn't really matter who they are. Utah saw some drops, but they didn't do as badly as many other states across the union. In fact, when it comes to 8th grade math, the only state in the country who didn't see a drop. So they've been getting a lot of props from the Department of Education because of that. There have been a lot of questions about, okay, well, what about when a school district or a state closed their schools early and kept them closed longer, right? Did that affect the grades that the students would receive on their tests? And really the data on that regard is really kind of inconclusive. But what we do know is that Utah did relatively well, A, because of their teachers, and B, because we started to adopt technology a lot quicker than a lot of other states. So when it was time for us all to get online with our kids and learn, we were kind of ready for it. But a lot of states had to catch up. So that explains a lot of some of the issues that other states were dealing with.
Taking a deeper dive into the nation's report card tonight on 2 News at 10 with Crisis in the Classroom reporter Chris Jones. Well, thanks for watching 2 News Live. We'll be here 5:30, Monday through Friday. We are streaming on all the platforms you can find us on. We hope you join us again for more in-depth conversations on the topics that impact you and your family. I'm Brian Cheney. A special thank you to everyone working behind the scenes, making 2 News Live possible. At 6, our news continues over on KUTV. For all of today's top stories and more, head right there. We'll see you tomorrow.